That was a big moment of debate in the game between Fiorentina and AC Milan. Milan had 2 penalties. Christian Pulisic is the designated penalty taker for Milan. The first penalty, however, was given to Theo Hernandez. The second to Tammy Abraham. Both missed their penalties. But in that game, in the end, AC Milan is losing by 2-1. This is what Fonseca had to say. Of course I'm upset. Christian Pulisic should take penalties. It must never happen again. And I told the players.
3 things here.
Go on.
3 things.
Go on.
A lack of respect for Fonseca's decision. A lack of respect for the player himself. Clearly, you have no respect for your teammates if you just bat them aside. No respect. If somebody was designated to take a penalty in any team I was playing in, that player would take that penalty unless he said to me or somebody else, I'm feeling nervous, I'm not having a good game, I don't want to take it.
Okay.
That's a different scenario. The third thing is, how weak do you have to be in Christian Pulisic, an US international footballer, to stand aside and allow 2 different players to take a penalty? How weak? How weak are you? I am ripping that ball, and that's maybe not the only thing I'm going to be ripping. I'm ripping it off them on the field because that is my job. It's been designated by the manager, and unless I give it up and I'm having a bad game or I'm injured or I'm not feeling up to it, and I pass on the responsibilities, if I don't, I am not, and I mean not, having anybody else take that responsibility off me. So that's the 3 things I take from this. That's just disrespect all the way around and then weakness from an international footballer.
You know, I didn't have an issue with Christian Pulisic kind of giving up the penalty as he did. Too many times you've seen players on the field tussling over a ball.
He's the penalty taker.
Right.
You don't allow...
How many times you've seen players tussling over a ball, which I think the knock-on effect is far greater than you have teammates wrestling with each other over a ball at the top of the box for whatever reason. And just to lean into that, and there are a couple of things. I think quite clearly there's a lack of respect for Paulo Fonseca. It couldn't be more evident. And not just by the players involved, but there seems to have been some kind of plan, some kind of premeditated plan around this. First of all, Theo Hernandez takes the first penalty kick. It's his birthday. Make what you want of that. But how that makes him the...
Was that what they said?
That's what I was told. I don't know if that's what they said, that was his reason, but for some reason, he gets the ball, he takes the penalty, it's his birthday. Again, I don't know if that had any bearing on the situation at all. Misses, or more to the point, David De Gea saves. The second, I thought was really interesting in how it developed. The penalty is given, and when the foul is made, the ball kind of pops up in the air, and Tamori runs, jumps, grabs the ball, LeBron James style, and hands it to Tammy Abraham, which was just the most bizarre thing to me. To me, it suggested that there was some kind of premeditation about it, about getting that ball and getting the ball into the hand of Tammy Abraham. And then Tamori kind of stands around almost like a little bodyguard, making sure that nobody gets too close to Tammy Abraham so that that kind of issue of players tussling over the ball doesn't happen. And then Tammy Abraham goes, and in fairness, it's a very good penalty, but David De Gea...
So for you, Pulisic is absolved of any blame in this?
Yeah, I'm not putting that blame on... I'm not putting that blame on Pulisic.
When Tamori and Tammy Abraham and they're doing this, where's Christian Pulisic? Stood in the corner eating his candy.
Well, I just feel...
Standing by like a big baby,
I feel
being bullied.
when you see players from the same team tussling over a ball like that, the knock-on effect is far greater. And step back... At that point, you want your manager to come and say something, but I can only assume...
But surely the manager said something at half-time.
Listen, whatever happens, Tammy Abraham took the kick, and first you heard from Fonseca, and granted, I didn't have my eyes on the game, so I don't know if at the moment he tried or what any effort he made on the sidelines was, but Tammy Abraham was allowed to take the penalty kick, unobstructed, certainly, as far as I could tell from Fonseca.
Don?
It's a lack of discipline from the players, Dan. I don't know if you remember a Milan game about 3 weeks ago when I think it was a cooling break or a player got injured and Fonseca got all his team over in a huddle to deliver a team talk, and 2 players never went over to that huddle. One was Theo Hernandez, the other one was Rafa Leao. They were kicking the ball 50 yards away. They didn't even bother coming back to listen to what the manager had to say. So there's a lack of respect, a lack of discipline straight away. Then you fast forward to the weekend, 3 penalties in the game that I never thought any of them were penalties, by the way.
So, Don, do you excuse Pulisic or not?
Not for the second one, I wouldn't, Dan, because I could maybe excuse Pulisic because Theo Hernandez has been there quite a while and he might have pulled rank. So I could maybe give Christian Pulisic an out on that one. But Tammy Abraham's been at the club 2 minutes. Tammy Abraham's got no rank whatsoever at AC Milan. You know, he signed from Roma and he's only been there 5 minutes, played a couple of games. So surely Christian Pulisic would say to Tammy Abraham, you ain't taking that penalty. But This is where the manager's, he's got a lack of authority at the same time. He should be shouting to his players and Christian Pulisic on the second one, what's Tammy Abraham doing? Now, whether it would have turned into a circus, because that's what Fonseca said, he used the words, it was a circus. And he said it will never, ever happen again. So whether he didn't want to add any fuel to the fire, I think that's a little bit weak from the manager. Because he should have been saying to Christian Pulisic, you go and get that ball off Tammy Abraham, and you are taking the second one. First one, maybe I could give him an out because it was Theo Hernandez. Second one, something has to be done. But it was I thought it was a terrible look for Paulo Fonseca in the end.
Luis, you taking the ball off Steven Gerrard?
No, for a chance. But we've seen that happening because we saw Crouch doing it because he needed that. Yeah. I think that when you are into that game and you need that confidence back, or you feel confident during the game, or maybe you are heading for a hat trick or an important moment, they've been always cases, and I think that we all been in a situation like that one, that a player comes to the one in charge of taking the penalty and asks for the ball, give me the ball, and create that one. I'm totally against create that moment of bad atmosphere between them when they try to fight or try to grab the ball from each other. I think that's awful, not only for that moment and for the one who's going to take the penalty in the end, but also for what he generates around the players. So I wouldn't take anything on Pulisic because if you are in charge, and I don't think that the Pulisic is one of those players he likes because of his personality to go ahead anyone or try to put his word ahead of anyone. And if someone from your team kind of come and ask you for the ball for the penalty, you understand. I think it's more part of the manager, the one in charge of saying, no, you are the one, or you are the one who is going to take it.
Maybe it's not part of his personality, and maybe it's the reason he's playing where he is and not in the Premier League or somewhere else, because he hasn't got quite that stomach for that big moment. I don't care if Theo Hernandez has been there 20 years. I don't care about any of it. Doesn't look good in anybody, this, clearly. None of them. Manager, the other players, Pulisic. But I go back to this point. If I'm the designated penalty taker and I have anything about me, I don't care who's flapping around. I'm standing on that penalty spot and they ain't taking that penalty until I've got the ball. Because because you know what?
What about Sir Luis's point?
That's what the manager told me.
Cause more embarrassment.
That's what I don't care. I don't care. I don't care about embarrassment. Listen, that dressing room's already fractured by the looks of it and by the sounds of it. I don't care. My responsibility when I go out in that field as Christian Pulisic, part of it was to take the penalties. So I don't care who's going around like little school kids trying to help their mates out. I'm standing there. I'm standing there as an international player, and it ain't happening until I take it. And if there's going to be a fight, there's going to be a fight. But I'm not being bullied. I'm not being bullied by a couple of muppets and their mates who are dancing around wanting to give somebody a goal. Right. It's just weak. It is weak. If that is my job, and I took penalties, most of them at Celtic, and then Henrik Larsson took a bunch of them. But it was designated before we went out in the field, and we did not try and take it off one another, and if we did, there would have been a problem.
Like I said, I didn't have a problem. I'm with Luis on that. I didn't have a problem with Pulisic did. I will say this, though.
Well, you like weak players,
I will say this, though. This is now on Paulo Fonseca.
Right.
And what happens next? Because if I'm the AC Milan manager and the players twice in the same game disrespect me and my instructions in the way that they did, they are not a part of my next match day squad. international break or not, AC Milan struggling or not. Again, you have to think a whole lot further than the one game, than maybe I needed 3 points next time out. You cannot have players disrespecting your instruction in the way that Theo Hernandez, Tammy Abraham, and again, I fully include Tomori in this, in that manner. They are not a part of my next match day squad. They can feature from there on in, but something has to be said, something has to be done at this point.